Welcome to Pilot Knob, Missouri, and I'm starting inside my car today because it's raining out. And so we're gonna take a quick tour through the town, mostly gonna focus on the nearby state park and then the historical site from the Civil War here in town. Let's take a quick tour around some of Pilot Knob. Pilot Knob is in Iron County, which is in southeast Missouri, and it's in the northeast corner of the L-shaped county. It was established in 1858 and named for Pilot Knob Mountain nearby, which served as a navigational landmark for hunters and travelers. The Battle of Pilot Knob in 1864 was a notable clash in the area during the Civil War, and we will learn much more about that later in the video. The nearby mountain was heavily mined in the late 19th century. In Pilot Knob, there's a wildlife refuge that is home to 1/3 of the world's population of Indiana bats. As you can see, the population increased there in the late 1800s due to the mining activity and has been pretty steady after that activity went down and is at 671 today. Apparently these rocks were created by natural weathering and erosion. The rocks were, I guess at one point, or initially under the surface and rose and then became weathered, and that's what you see today. Pretty fascinating, really. Reminds me of playing putt-putt golf. That'd be a heck of a hole. There's some large ones up there, and these are all smaller. It's pretty remarkable. I don't know what it looks like in the summer. All the brown leaves kind of make it look like mulch or something, but yeah, pretty neat. So that's pretty unusual. Turns out, this tells you about it right here. The two large holes were a result of core samples which were drilled into the rock to determine if their mineral quality and economic value. Huh. "450 feet, that's not very far." Oh wow, that's much bigger than I thought it was going to be. Now obviously this isn't the original building. You can see it's been reconstructed, but it's still really cool, and you see the tracks. How awesome is that? So when I came over here to the Elephant Rock State Park, I was not expecting to find something like this. This ruins of this engine house, and you can see the train tracks going off into the woods. This place is free. I just drove up, parked. I'm the only person here. Now it is kind of a cold, rainy day, but man, if you're ever near Pilot Knob, Missouri, definitely worth a stop. This is turned around looking back towards the building. All right, reconnecting with the trail, look at some more rocks. Oh, look how long the rock is. It's kind of wild that you can just kind of walk up here. I mean, you could fall off up here and severely injure yourself. Hopefully that doesn't happen at the end of this video. Oh, just about slipped. I guess this part is called the squeeze, and that's the wheelchair route. Ooh, nice. So this little informational sign says directly in front of you, a vertical rock wall falls 30 feet down into the quarry, and it's 40 feet deep. And then granite was extracted from this point to pave streets and construct buildings in St. Louis. Pretty interesting. This park kind of keeps going and going. Come to the fork in the road, and this is called the maze. That's the wheelchair accessible path. Let's go check out the maze. Not as exciting as the squeeze, but I still enjoyed it. I got a C in geology, so not my best subject, but this is pretty interesting. Probably should have paid attention more. And that brings us to the end of the trail, where that's where we started right there. Parking lot's out that way. I think there's some more over near the parking lot. So we were way up there, straight ahead, and over here by the parking lot there's certainly more rocks. There's not as much of a path, so we'll just wander around and see if there's anything worth seeing. Well, this was really cool. I was not expecting Elephant Rock State Park to be as large and as cool as it has been. Might be a little dangerous. If you got little kids, I wouldn't let them just take off running, because you could literally fall 30 feet down into water or into rocks. So yeah, keep them on a leash if you can. But it's really awesome, and I think I'm only kind of scratching the surface of places you can go in here. Very, very cool. I was hoping to fly my drone here, but drones and rain don't mix very well. Pilot Knob, there's another historical place. Let's go check that out. It's a little bit about the Civil War.
Battle of Pilot Knob was a late war, or late battle in the war, 1864 in late September. It was part of General Sterling Price's raid to St. Louis to do as much damage as he could, take the state over if he could. This was his first encounter nearly. His idea was that he would surround the fort. Everyone in the fort, Union soldiers, would surrender, and then he'd be on his way to St. Louis. At the beginning of the Civil War, the Union Army took over St. Louis. And when the governor and General Price, who at the time was head of the State Guard, went over to see what was going on, they discovered that the Union Army was going to invade Missouri. So they got out. And ever since then, every year of the war, the Confederates would try to go up into Missouri. Sometimes they were more successful than other times. And by the end of the year, the Union Army would have always pushed them back down to Arkansas. So you had 4 or 5 raids into the state, and different officers were in command. And in the meantime, you had all the guerrilla activity. And so it was very, very difficult. This little 80-acre area here that comprises Battle of Pilot Knob State Historic Site is the core battlefield, with Fort Davidson as being its main feature. The fort itself was built 1863 as a result of another little Confederate encounter. General Marmaduke came up into southeast Missouri. He didn't do much. They call it the Battle of Cape Girardeau, but it panicked people. So they decided to put a fort right here at Pilot Knob, which at the time was the end of the Iron Mountain Railroad, because Fort Davidson was never more than an earthwork with 6 sides. Surprise, surprise, it was professionally designed. And in fact, the fact that the Confederates didn't take it over during the battle is one highlight of that. It was turned in such a way that even when the Confederates mounted Shepherd Mountain right in front of the fort and shot down on it, they couldn't destroy all the guns at one time. They had to keep moving around to get those guns, and they couldn't do it because the men in the fort fought back. Eventually, they took out 1 cannon of the Confederates up on the mountain, which meant that there was nothing less for the Confederates to do but to give a surge to the walls. When they did that, they took way too many casualties, and they were never able to get into the fort. It made headlines throughout the country for at least one day.
Got a great little history lesson there from Brick. Pretty cool. A little town like this has such a history with the Civil War. One of the interesting things he told me was about, there's Confederate flags in there, and how that's a controversial thing, obviously, and that you're allowed to have them and display them as long as it's an exhibit. So at least that's the rule in the state of Missouri. There's all these battles in the Civil War, and obviously all kinds of wars, but Civil War specifically to this little town here, Pilot Knob. And it's great that there's a museum and there's a guy like Brick to tell the story, and there's something here to learn about. And definitely a lot of people died right here in this area. So, visiting these places I think is important, learning about them. It's great when a small town with only less than 1,000 people has a story like this to tell. Does that mean like wheelchair parking? And I literally don't remember which way I came from. I'm gonna go that way, I guess. if you've seen this video, you know I made it. Oh, wow, that's much bigger than I thought it was gonna be. That's what she said.